So I want to talk about just kind of developing the concept, right? What does it mean to be the local church? In the previous module, we briefly discussed the need for congregational care and considered the why question, right? So this is kind of the how. So what does this really look like? So as we move toward a workable solution, how do we give sufficient attention to all members of our congregation, and how do we do it continuously, right? Rick Warren, he wrote this: I believe that God is just waiting for a church that will love people unconditionally. He can use that kind of church to speak a spiritual awakening in your city that all the forces of hell could not stop. It would change the climate of your community for Christ, and nothing can stop a loving church. Now, I am fully convinced that this is absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So the real solution is to establish a proven system of authentic congregational care wherein we connect our entire church family intentionally. Right? It's really the whole aspect of this care ministry is intentionality. In the process, they experience a sense of belonging where they are valued, accepted, and also feel needed. Since the pastor really cannot do it alone, the answer to this dilemma is to include church members to partner with their pastor in providing a significant care to one another. This simple yet significant action will prevent people from falling through the cracks or slipping through the back door, right? Meaningful care never will happen on its own. We have to be intentional and deliberate. I just want to re-emphasize that point, right? We can't just preach a good sermon, have some good worship, and then just expect people just to start loving one another. And because y'all ever heard of like cliques and stuff? I mean, I'm sure they don't have any cliques at this church, right? None, no cliques. But I mean, you've seen it, and I've been part of that, right? It's like you see a crowd of people, they're talking and they're laughing, and it's all smiles, and then I'll go walk up there and I'll kind of come into that crowd, and it's just like, hey, just kind of standing there, and then they kind of quit talking, and then one person leaves, and then another person. I'm that guy. I'm like, okay, here we go. So I'm going to go try. I'm going to come and walk over here. I'll try this group of people, and they're kind of talking and laughing, and then one person leaves, another. I mean, it's a miserable feeling. I've always been that guy. I don't know why. But wouldn't it be powerful if our church was trained and equipped? We had a group of people called care leaders who were in our church that were intentionally focused at finding people and connecting to them and making them feel welcome in our churches. I think that's what we ought to do anyway. But unless we get intentional about it, it's not going to just happen on its own. It just doesn't. I mean, you'll have a few people who are connectors, and you have a few people that you wish they'd stop connecting. But none of you are here, I'm sure, But my point is we have to be intentional about it. So this is what this is. It's just a proven system to connect people to care for the church. So when we train, equip, and develop our people, they will be able to provide the necessary care to the other members. This is the biblical pattern. The contagious churches of the next century will be different from traditional churches today. One revolutionary difference will revolve around pastoral care. The exciting prospect is that everyone in the congregation will receive regular pastoral care from a gifted and trained layperson. It's Dr. Jim Garlow. So to be effective, we should cultivate a culture of care in the congregation. Again, just to reiterate that, the care ministry is not so much a ministry in our churches as much as it is a care culture within your church. So the local congregation, under the leadership of a motivated pastor, learns to care about one another first, and then about those outside their church. It soon will lead to a caring community. This way, people who feel the love of Christ and sin-sick people find rest. I want to this is kind of the philosophy or the idea. You can see this quote off here to the side, that the love of God has to flow down the aisles of our churches before it will flow down the streets of our cities. I think this is a pivotal understanding that has to take place within the church in order for the church to effectively evangelize its city. Because what happens is we go and we'll have a serve day, we'll love our city, we'll go do all these things, and then they come into a church environment where people are gossiping, backbiting, ignoring, cliquish kind of group, right? That's not right. I'm not trying to paint the church in a negative light. But what I'm saying is we need to really learn how to love the people who are connected to us before we can expect the community to connect to us. So the pastors continue to provide crisis care. The church members offer congregational care on a constantly ongoing basis. So you can kind of see how this begins to flow. When church members are involved in congregational care, they are meeting not only other people's human needs, but also their own desire for ministry involvement. Yes, every believer is a minister, right? Every believer is a minister. I genuinely believe that. Every person in our churches, every person who believes that Jesus Christ died on a cross, buried in a borrowed tomb, rose again on the third day. If you believe that, you're a believer. You confess Jesus as Lord, then your role is to be a minister of the gospel. During the First Reformation, the church gave the Bible back to the people, right? But in the present milieu, the church is giving ministry back to the people. I believe that this next revolution in church revival is an activated body of ministers. I genuinely believe that. I mean, how many of y'all, okay, I'm going to kind of get off of notes for just a minute because this idea gets me excited, but how many of y'all really want to see revival in New Orleans or Kenner or Metairie? I mean, I do. I want to see revival here. I mean, I want to see revival in Lafayette and Acadiana. I want to see revival across the whole world. And, in my mind, revival doesn't just look like, we have an awesome worship service and, people are speaking in tongues and baptized with the Spirit. But I really believe that, addiction begins to break in a community. Marriages begin to be restored and healed. And kids are pulled off of the streets, out of gangs and out of, that's what revival looks like to me. I want to see the New Orleans Police Department put out of business, right? Not because I love cops. But they could just give traffic tickets or something because that's I don't know if that's really a sin. I don't know. But my point is that's what revival looks like. And if we have revival, who's going to do the ministry in the church? The people are. It's the people who minister to the needs of the community. So I think sometimes God withholds revival because ministers aren't activated in the ministry. It's like God's like, I'm not going to release my spirit in a city because the churches aren't really ready to receive my people. So the care ministry is a way for the church to get active in ministering to the needs of the people. So inasmuch as we now are living in the day of the saints and ministry done by believers is coming into clear focus, all those who are Christ must be involved in His mission. So the key, this is number 8, the key to getting a church off a plateau is to get all of its people involved in ministry. I love this statement. Those who row the boat don't have time to rock it. There's some statistics. To have a church that's growing, you need to have at least 60%. Listen to that. 60% of the people in the church actively volunteering in the ministry of the church. 60%. That's a lot of people. You can only put so many people on a worship team or in a kids ministry or in evangelism or in a food pantry. How are we going to get more people involved in ministry? The care ministry. Getting people caring for the needs of the congregation. And when we get people busy, I think a lot of times we see problems in the church because people don't have anything to do. So a clear and obvious solution to meeting the needs of every congregant in a local church is to develop a practical and workable system of care. Its successful and effective implementation requires a sizable number of church members to partner with their pastor. That's an absolutely key word. If you want to circle or underline that word, partner with their pastor. Keeping in mind that the role of the care leader is never to replace their pastor, but it is to represent their pastor. That's why that care leader at our church signed my name on the birthday card, because they were partnering with me. They were partnering with the ministry and the vision of the church, right? It's very important. Having considered the solution to providing meaningful care, we have chosen to affect our goals by establishing a care ministry network. And this is exactly what Pastor Ryan is doing. He is looking to activate his church through care ministry. So the central premise of the care ministry network is simple, in that the local church trains and develops a number of its members to provide one-on-one care to fellow congregants in a prescribed way. Right? They're going to provide one-on-one care in a prescribed way. Of course, keep in mind, simple does not mean easy. So this system ensures that no one falls through the cracks, slips out the back door, has to struggle on his or her own, right? So this is it's just a system of being able to care for the needs of the church in a one-on-one way. Church members partner with their pastors, and in doing so, do not replace them, but represent them in the delivery of ministry. Their objective is to join the hands of the congregation with the hands of the leaders. So we refer to those members who function in the ministry of compassion as care leaders. So one of the things you're going to notice in this book is that, this was written by Dr. Bosman, and this is his book. So some of these terms kind of go back and forth. So it really is up to the pastor to determine what these different roles, what we're going to call them, right? So in this book, it was written as care pastors, but if you could just, I just scratched it out and just wrote leaders, right? So here at Church on a Mission, we're going to refer to the role of the care, this role of care pastors, care leaders. So the care leaders, they serve the members of their church under the direction of the care director and the ministry leadership team, right? And we're going to clarify all what that looks like. So in this training, this is training for future potential care leaders, right? So when we talk about care leaders, care pastors here, but we're just going to call it care leaders, I'm talking about you guys. So after training and equipping the selected care leaders, the lead pastor, along with the other leaders of the congregation, publicly recognize and authorizes them through an act of commissioning. So we're going to have some training. We'll have some applications. We'll have a vetting process. Once you're recognized as a care leader, we'll recognize you publicly. It's a very powerful thing. The lead pastor and the ministry leader team assign a number of households to each care leader couple who will be responsible for staying in touch with each of their households. So their connections follow a prescribed 5 points of contact structure. So in other words, I'm just going to kind of use this a little bit. I think I'm going to just kind of pull it over here, Pastor Ryan, so you can see. You want to pull it up here? Yeah. Just real quick. There we go. All right. Yeah, let's put this on the ground, maybe. Yeah. Perfect. So you're going to have this a simple system of the lead pastor. So this system here, these are your care leaders. And each care leader will be responsible for caring for 5 to 7 families in the church, right? So this is what we're talking about. And we're going to assign all of these families in the church will be assigned to the care leader, so you'll know who they are. You'll be responsible to call them. I mean, how many of you could call 5 people in a week? I could make phone calls. I mean, I used to be in sales. That's what I did for a living. I made phone calls, right? And I mean, isn't it powerful to know that at least once a month you're going to call and talk to somebody, a family in the church? Hey, how you doing? How's your mom and them? How are things at work? And I mean, it's a powerful thing. It gets people connected. It feels like they have a friend. And you know what? They do. It doesn't just feel like it. You actually become friends. And that's an amazing relationship. So the care leader will be responsible for staying in touch with their households. So as the sheep multiply, the shepherds must multiply also. And this is how the church grows. So however many people we hear as care leaders, As the church grows, we have continued training. We bring in more care leaders. And we've done that through the years. As our church has grown, we bring in more care leaders. It just opens up opportunities for people to get involved in ministry. It's really quite amazing. So the primary function or role of the care leaders is to apply the care concept. So this is something we're going to talk about in more detail later, but I just want to introduce the idea now. So CARE, it's an acronym. C-A-R-E. So the role of the care leader is to contact each assigned household regularly, be accessible to their household groups, reach out in prayer on behalf of each household, and exemplify a Christian lifestyle, right? So care leader, your primary role is to care. You're going to connect with each household regularly, once a month, and at church. You're going to see them at church, wave at them, let them know, hey, good to see you. It's great to see you. What's your name? Yeah, sorry, I caught you while you had your mouth full. Of all the people here, I'm so sorry. Krista Moore? It's great to meet you. My name is Joe. I'm so glad to see you here today. Yes. Yeah. And see, that's just that simple. And next time I see Krista Moore, is Moore your last name? Krista your first name? Is it okay if I call you Krista? Yeah. Next time I see Krista, I'm not going to introduce myself because she'll already know my name. I just can say, hey, Krista, hi, great to see you. And could you imagine every time we come to church and we see one another, hey, hi, good to see you, good to see you. Almost begin to look forward to those connections, to those moments, right? This is the role of the care leader, just to connect with people intentionally, making sure that nobody falls through the cracks, right? To connect, to be available. So not only as a care leader am I just going to make a connection, but I'm saying, Kristen, listen, by the way, here's my cell phone number. I'm not going to give it to you today. I'm not your care leader. But here's my phone number. If you need anything, please reach out to me. And Krista, she gets home, she's got a busted pipe, and she has to call a plumber, and it costs $500 to fix it. She's just, oh my goodness. Hey, Joe, listen, that's just been a tough day. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Krista. Would you pray for me? Yeah, I pray for you right now on the phone. If you're not comfortable with praying for people on the phone, this may not be the best ministry for you. But you can learn how to do it. Just, Lord Jesus, comfort, encourage, strengthen, be with her. And she knows that she has somebody she can call on any time of the day. It's a powerful, powerful thing. Not only that, but Krista's going to know that at least once a week, I'm going to reach out to God on her behalf. I'm praying for Krista. I mean, imagine that idea, Pastor Ryan. Somebody in your church is praying, everybody in your church, somebody's praying for them at least once a week. That's powerful, man. It's wonderful. Reaching out to God on their behalf, and not just generalized prayers. Eventually, me and Krista are going to get to know each other, and I'm going to pray for some specific things, maybe for grandchildren, or maybe for noisy neighbors, or maybe for, I don't know. Don't know you that well yet. But no grandchildren. Oh, okay.
My daughters are in their early 20s.
Okay. Well, that's definitely. Well, then we will be praying for grandchildren, if it's the Lord's will.
Not anytime.
Not anytime soon. Yeah. How about husbands first? Husbands first, right? In-laws. But I can begin to pray specifically. And then also, I'm going to just exemplify Christian care, right? It's very important as a care leader. We have to at least show up to church. You have to lift your hands above the waist during worship. No, I'm just kidding. But we just exemplify Christian character. We become a good example to those who are in our flocks, in our groups, that they can look to and be encouraged by us being there, right? Amen. So the care leader will receive ongoing training and development and must attend these events, right? So you're going to continue to grow and learn and be part of the care ministry. Although the church members execute the care ministry network, the ministry remains a discernible extension of the lead pastor's vision. The members who serve in this ministry can ignore the leadership, or the members who serve in this ministry can ignore the leadership of the pastor about as much as the members of a symphony orchestra can ignore the direction of a conductor. So there's some comments there. We'll just kind of end that. So that'll be that session.